Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today with two very, very successful individuals. They come from different backgrounds, but they have one thing in common, which is they're successful. We have Robbie Fowler, who is a legendary footballer from Liverpool and England, and we have Marco Robinson, who is one of the leading property investors in the world. Maybe Robbie, if I can just start with you. Mm-hmm. You started as a footballer from a very young age. You came from a humble background. How did you get into football?
Well, I think you just said there. Obviously, growing up, was very humble, and probably most people in Liverpool, where I'm from, played football. That was the only thing we ever done. It's not like the modern day age now, where a lot of the kids have handheld computers, DJ equipment now. Everyone's got them. But I was just forever carrying the football. Obviously, I had a little bit of talent, but I went away and worked on it. So I mean, it was not a thing where I just fell upon becoming a footballer. I actually worked from a very, very young age to try and be a success at football.
Right. So you had talent, but of course you had to work at it, right? Everybody thinks that football is an easy game and it's easy money.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people say that. The people who say are the ones who don't play. I think if you're being honest, I mean, it's a sport that everyone would love to be paid to do. I was no different, and effectively I was getting paid for doing a hobby, for doing my hobby. I had a great career. I wouldn't swap anything. Football is obviously the only thing I've ever done, but obviously when you finish, you have to have the other aspects of your life and other ideas about what you want to do after football, because it's not that long of a career.
Right. Did you have a mentor who guided you through your post-football career in that essence?
Well, I mean, in terms of football and growing up, I mean, it's always good for the individual to want to do it first and foremost, and I did. But you need a little bit of guidance anyway. And my mum and dad were brilliant. Obviously, she said I come from a humble background. My mum and dad, we didn't have much money, so we used to get the bus to train all the time. My mum would give me the money, and that is probably the guidance that you needed, because I mean, my mum might have said, "Oh, my dad, we can't afford it this time, so you might have to give it a miss." But they went and worked a little bit harder, to try and give me the best possible start in my football career.
Right. Marco, you obviously are not a footballer, but you're a very successful businessman and entrepreneur yourself. How did you get started in your career?
I guess I got started because I had a career that was very stressful. And actually I didn't go to school. I left school at 16, didn't go to university or anything like that. I had no money, didn't have any career prospects, came from a very small town, a place called Buxton, Derbyshire, not far away from you. And I didn't really have any motivation when I was younger. I didn't have a mentor, didn't have anyone around me that pushed me, if you like, or would support me what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I started actually quite late.
Right.
Now I had my first proper job at 21, and that was selling timeshare, commission only, and I failed miserably. But then someone helped me, they gave me a book, saw some potential in me, saw some talent, and that turned me around, and within a week I became the best salesperson in the company, and ended up nearly running the company. And then I was about 26, 27 then. And then that company got taken over by an American group, and then we all got fired.
Right.
And then I got offered these opportunities around the world, and one of them was Malaysia in Asia. And went over there, did extremely well, but I was working 18 hours a day, nearly 7 days a week. My marriage was suffering. I was making a lot of money, but it wasn't the answer, So when I was 29, I had a mild heart attack. My wife...
At 29?
At 29. My wife was having an affair with my best friend.
Oh.
That didn't cause the heart attack, I don't think. and then I lost all my money on the stock market. So there was triggers there, and that was a lot of pain for me. And one thing I decided then was I never wanted to have a boss again controlling my life, what I wanted to do. So I just gave that up. Even though I didn't have a lot of money left, I just left and decided I want my own business. So I started consulting in my old industry. And then I decided, well, you know what, that's not really giving me much fulfillment. What can I do? So to cut a long story short, I started my own business, created a product from nothing, and I had literally run out of money. was driving around in a 15-year-old Volvo from a cafe, designed this product, and I made $12 million in 1 year doing that. And that inspired me to go on to the next thing. Now, at that time, I wasn't really into property. In fact, the first property I bought, I lost money on. So for me, I didn't really know anything about that. And I suddenly got interested in that because I found out and discovered that as I was getting mentoring, because when I started that business, I was getting mentored by millionaires, one in particular that was really successful. And he taught me that property was one of the best investments you could make because it gave you passive income. So if you get positive cash flow, you didn't really have to work ever again. And that was a fantastic thought that I didn't really believe that was possible at the time. So, after researching it, I found out that that was possible, and there were certain opportunities around the world that I could get into, not a lot of money down. And then I started to become successful at doing that, and I bought my first, second, third, fifth, got to 10 properties, and then I decided it was so much fun, I wanted to teach other people how to do it. So I started doing seminars about that for free. I didn't charge people because it was a hobby, like football was a hobby for you. So I started doing this hobby, and then more and more people started to come to the seminars. So then, okay, what else can I teach them? So I started extending it to 8 hours instead of just 2 hours. And I still did it for free. Then, well, hang on a minute, how can I make this into a business? So then I started finding a way, putting a program together to educate people how to basically replace the salary with passive income so they could fire the boss and become financially free so they didn't have to worry about money ever again.
Right.
Now, I've been doing that for 5 years. And it literally has gone epidemic proportions because obviously a lot of people around the world are doing a job they don't love. In fact, I've asked my own people around the world, I've done so many seminars. When I ask an audience, do you love what you do? One person puts their hand up, kind of maybe. But when they realise, well, we could get paid the same money for not doing that, and not going to the office 8 o'clock in the morning, not working weekends, they kind of like that idea. So I found that most people are doing a job they don't like because they have to pay the bills.
Yes.
So when I discovered that, I found out, well, hang on a minute, I can help those people change their lives.
Right.
And when you get to our level now, I think the best thing that we can do is give back. Like, you meet children all the time who want to be like you. You meet people around the world who idolize you, but no, when you give back to them, you come and you teach them, you educate them, you help them out, give them opportunities. That's, for me, the most powerful thing you can ever do, and it actually gives you the most fulfillment. It's not about the money anymore, because I don't need that kind of money anymore because I've already made it financially. So now for me, giving back to people and educating people how you can get into property as a means of doing what you love to do and helping other people do what they love to do, because if you can touch one person, they can actually help the family, the next family, the friends, and all the rest of it, and that's actually happened to me. And that's an amazing thing.
Right. Robbie, you are also into property. You are an investor, and I think you bought a lot of homes in Liverpool. How did you get into that?
Well, I sort of fell on it by accident actually, and I mean, I will get this straight. I mean, I'm not in the same league as him. This guy is.
No, you're in the Premier League, mate.
He's a mentor what he does, and I mean, the story he's saying there was brilliant. And I love success stories. I know people who failed, in his own way, he's failed at the start, and then you come back bigger and better, and you're obviously much better as a person, stronger. But I mean, where I sort of fell into it, I was a player, and really you get players, people who play football, and they worry about there and then. They don't worry about
now.
After your career, what you've done. And I had like a financial advisor. Who obviously was my mentor, and I met him through Graham Souness, who was a then Liverpool manager. He said, look after this kid, and I just sort of fell into it because he sort of structured everything around sort of properties, and this is how you'll get money, this is how you'll earn money, you put your money to this, and eventually you'll go on to bigger and better things. And if I'm being totally honest again, I probably still don't know as much as what I should do. But now that I have finished, I certainly am going to do my own work a little bit more, obviously speak to you know, our new friend here, my new best friend now, and you know, the information that, you know, he can give is just unbelievable. And you know, I'd recommend exactly what he's saying. You know, the seminars that he does, you know, get yourself there, because I know I have got a few, but I'm still learning. I still want to go to these seminars. I want to learn more, and in any walk of life, you're never too old to stop.
Yeah, because I think like when you're in that lifestyle, I mean, I've never had your lifestyle in terms of being a Premier League football player, getting that kind of salary, having those kind of scoring those goals must have been like the most amazing thing for you.
Of course it was. I mean, I grew up and that's what I want to do. So I mean, from an early age, you know, I've lived my life, and you know, probably the perfect life, and obviously.
Well, as you said, it's so short, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but you're a little bit different because you've sort of built, and now you're at the level where, you know, you probably wish you would have started at. You know,
Absolutely.
I'm obviously a little bit different because I played in the football, and now I'm sort of starting off from the bottom again. We're trying to get to the top because obviously I finished my career in football.
And how do you feel that you actually made that decision, that great decision to invest in property so early?
Well, again, it was not my call. I mean, a little.
But you still put your money in, right?
Yeah, of course, because you know, you trust people, and look, not everything works. And
that was fortunate for you, definitely.
Yeah, very much so. And I think in any walk life, you need a little bit of luck. Yeah. You know, I certainly had it. There's other people aren't as fortunate. But look, you even said yourself. I mean, there's going to be times when you're not going to earn money, but if you have the the nous and you know, the sense and the people around you to sort of help you through that, and then. Look, I think he's a
so
perfect example.
Robbie's saying is about, I think the support network is really crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's who you're spending time with.
I mean, Robbie, of course, had a successful career, and he had income to invest.
Yeah.
But many people don't.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean they can't be good investors.
No, that's a myth.
Right.
Well, people think they have to be rich to buy property. You don't.
Yes.
You know, so you can actually find a way to borrow the money to do it.
Right.
And the thing about, just to give you a very, very short story, you probably heard of the global financial crisis that happened in 2008. Subprime crisis, where all the properties around the world went like that. Right? So what that did is that gave an opportunity for anybody, really in the street, to buy a property. For example, in the USA, you could buy a property for 10 grand.
Yeah.
And you could get a rental income of 30% return on that.
Right.
You can still buy in the USA $50,000 and get a 15% return on your rental, which is amazing. And in the UK, you can get some that are 10%, you know. So what that did is actually corrected all the property prices. It made it really, anybody can actually do that. And you can borrow the money to do it. Now, banks will not help you to educate you how to borrow money. They'll just give you a set of rules that you have to follow to apply for that loan. What I do is I decode all that, and I go, you know, I find different strategies so anybody can actually borrow the money and then get that property to pay them cash flow so they can replace the salary and not worry about money.
Right.
It is possible, you know.
Well, it is very possible. You know, how do you convince people who may be skeptical?
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That's the toughest thing, because the mindset is because everyone goes to school.
Yeah.
Everybody's conditioned by the parents and the school teachers. You must study hard. You must get, you know, good grades to get a good job. You must be a good employee.
Right.
Get married, get a mortgage, blah blah blah, and then life's over, right? Then you're a good citizen. But the truth is, the facts are very scary, because 98% of the world's population retire financially broke.
That's scary.
That's very scary. And when you understand that for a fact, it makes people start to take action now. Most people don't understand that. For example, in the UK, they increased the retirement age by 2 years a few years ago. So now you have to be 67 to get your pension, because simply the government don't have enough money to pay the pensioners, because people are living longer now.
Right.
You know? And, you know, the economies around the world crash because governments cannot afford to pay the welfare and things like that. I mean, if you look at the UK, the government's spending £22 million an hour on welfare. That's ridiculous, you know. You even get paid £120 a week to be an alcoholic. That's how crazy it is now. Because it's so politically correct that the world's gone just the other way, you know. And what I do is I educate people about that. And I do it over a spaced amount of time so people can actually get it in a simple way.
Right.
And once they get that, then a lot of those people actually say, right, I need to do something about this now.
Right.
So for me personally, I'm giving a service out there. And I love that, because if I help one person become financially free, that for me is everything, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And you've actually written a book on that,
Yeah.
right? On being financially free
I
and
wrote a
independent.
book. My first book was about personal development in terms of sales and communication. That became a #1 bestseller.
Right.
I'm on the second book now. It's called The Financial Freedom Guarantee.
Right.
So I'm just going through that now.
Right.
So what I talk about in my workshops is actually write that down so people can actually get
Right.
the information.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've done this very successfully in Malaysia, I understand. You're in
I
Malaysia.
invested in property all over the world.
Right.
And in property, you have to understand when it's going to go down and when it's going to go up. So once you study that, you can actually make a lot of money, but also, most importantly, you can actually hold on to a property
Right.
that gives you cash flow for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know,
So
you could retire on 3 properties.
So
You
money
could
for
replace your
nothing.
salary.
Money for nothing.
Yeah, in a way. So, see, people are not educated to get money for nothing, are they?
Right. Right.
They're educated to trade time
For
to get a
money.
salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So when you present that to them, they can't really get that. And that's why they have to be conditioned to actually understand that that is the truth, that
Right.
you can do that, you know?
Robbie, you know, when you were playing football, how many of your mates understood this? I mean, you were
Yeah,
actually pretty ahead of the time when you started
I'll
investing.
be honest with you, I mean, we never ever once sat down and discussed this, what we're doing, just what I'm doing with my money. I think everyone was,
Partying,
well, yeah, most of them might have.
celebrating.
But like obviously individuals are different, and you know what they done, you know, in their own homes or with their own people. You know, no one was privy to that. You know, it was not really spoke. We never really spoke about it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I don't know, for whatever reason, because it wasn't a thing.
You didn't
to do.
need money though, did you, I guess?
No, well, no one did
Yeah.
when you played football.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it wasn't the thing that we spoke about. You know, we spoke about other things, obviously more so the football, and everyone's life outside of football. You know, people's lives differ. It is just a crazy. I think nowadays, if you look into the Premier League, there's a lot more players doing it. There's a lot more players who understand.
Well, I think a lot of players are following your example.
Yes.
Well, I
yours
don't know that, but it's just, I mean, they just obviously listen to whatever's been said and
Yeah.
they think, well,
Right.
exactly what you're explaining. You know, it's absolute money for nothing. And I mean, well, I'm sat up here. I'm a little bit thingy, to be honest, because I'm sat by him, and I'm loving listening to this myself, because I just find it so fascinating. And obviously, your question before is, you know, how can you get people, you know, to that mindset?
Right.
And obviously, it's, if you've got nothing and you know, all right, you've got a little bit, and you want to invest in. I mean, it's a big commitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
People will be scared. And they
Yes.
think,
Absolutely.
and it's all what ifs, isn't it?
Right.
So
What if
we
what
do
if
this?
it doesn't
And
work? Yeah.
And obviously, you know, the negative thoughts and that. But you know, obviously, take the negative. You know, try and make a little bit positive.
Right.
As he's saying, and then it just goes bigger and bigger and better.
Right.
Yeah, because when you actually show people the consequences of not investing and getting a good return, that's when they start to take action.
Right.
Because they realise if they don't do something, they're going to be in a situation where they're going to be broke.
Right.
And you know, if you look at what people earn over a lifetime in the USA citizens spend 126% of what they earn.
That's why the country is broke.
Right? Asia is just over 100%, and that's why they're debt ridden
Huge,
and the debt condition, you know.
Right.
So, but they're getting debt to buy consumer items and not things that give them a return. So they can get conditioned to go and buy Prada suit, blah blah blah.
Right.
But they're not conditioned to go and buy property with the same money,
Right. Right.
because you could actually use that as a deposit to put on a property.
Right.
You know.
Right. So mentoring is critical.
Absolutely.
You know, in terms of getting people over this hump
If
and
there's
getting
one
them to change their
thing
mindset.
that you could ask me that would say, well, what's the fastest way to be a successful investor? It would be to be mentored by a successful investor.
Absolutely.
That means if you want something badly enough, you have to hang around with people that have got what you want.
Right.
Like if you want to be a fantastic footballer, I think I heard you last night mention that Ian Rush gave you the most tips in terms of skills and things, right?
Yeah, I know totally. I agree with totally what you're saying in terms of. I mean, it doesn't have to be in property. I mean, it could be in any walk of life.
Anything.
Right.
You want to be the best, and sometimes you have to, you know, go and speak to people who are trying to get on that ladder as well. Someone who wants to sort of better themselves, and you can learn off them. Like football, it's like school kids. You go to school. to obviously learn. The teachers are mentoring them. Football, I have coaches who mentor me. Obviously, we have our parents who are probably the best mentors, and I think in terms of property,
right.
You know, look, to start off, no one knows nothing, and then all of a sudden, you know, we speak to the mentors, and you know, they tell us everything that they know, and I think you just on to have an upward hill.
Because that's the only way you grow.
Right, absolutely.
If someone's got something you haven't got, and they've got that level, you've got to hang around with that person to get to that level. You can't hang around with people there who haven't got it.
Right. And it's always it's a continuous learning process, right? I mean, in investing, so. in you know, in terms of, I'm sure when you started as a footballer and when you were at the peak of your career, it was a learning process.
Well, even that as well, I think there's a little bit of pride within yourself. You always want to be bigger and better.
Right.
Again, I know I've said this a few times, but I don't care, you know, who you are, you know, what you are. You know, you always want to be the best that you possibly can. Whether it be football, whether it be into property, whether it be, you know, a school kid, you know, studying for exams, you know, it's everything is there, and you want to be the best of everything.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what another point is that a lot of people feel they can't be the best because they don't have access to people like Robbie, don't have access to people like me. But actually, it's the opposite, really, because I'm more than willing, you're more than willing to meet them at where they are.
Right.
So I've created programs, and Robbie's created programs where anybody without any money can come and see us, and we'll help them.
Right.
You know, and I think in today's world, that's the difference between now and say 30 years ago, because of the internet, because of communication. Now it is actually more accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
Marco, do you find that, you know, I mean, you've been in Asia for some time.
Yeah. Nearly 20 years. 20
years now. That's a long time. Do you find that, you know, with the growth of the middle class, everyone is talking about the new affluence in Asia. Are people starting to change their mindsets in terms of investing long term into property? Are you seeing that?
Well, that's a long answer. To give a short answer, so what you had a shift between the Western economy and the Asian economy. So in the West, it was booming 20 years ago, you know, tons of development, and really the development finished there. Right. So then the West actually outsourced all the manufacturing and all the work to the East, India, China, blah, 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 because it was cheap labor, right? So and now the opposite has actually happened. So now you've got China, India, China being the richest country in the world. Now they're outsourcing to America. Oh my God. That is incredible, isn't it? Yeah. They're outsourcing to America for cheap labor.
Right.
Because the Chinese are so bloody rich that they are the biggest consumers in the world now. Brands like Louis Vuitton, BMW, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes,
they all sell
in the
China.
first quarter of this year had the best quarter they've ever had in history of any market anywhere. Now the Chinese are going to Paris and buying designer labels. You don't see any Europeans there. So there's definitely a shift in wealth. Right. Now in terms of investing, more Asian people are definitely investing, and in fact, I would say Asians have a different kind of mindset than Westerners, because their mindset is they're kind of biggest, more cautious than Westerners. So the average American only has 1 month of salary in the bank account. The average Singaporean has 6 months. It doesn't mean they're better though than the Westerners, because in Singapore, in a savings account, your interest rate is 0.05%.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're cleverer than a Westerner. It just means you're more cautious. So what you've got to do is the Asian mindset is to save and accumulate, and buy a house, but then pay it off cash. Pay it off cash, then you're okay, don't have to worry about anything. So that's the Asian mindset. And the problem with that is that when you pay a house off cash and you retire, you've got no income.
Right.
So you've got a great big house, but you've got no income. So you're not really living, are you? So what I teach is the opposite. To be financially free, you have to borrow now, and borrow as much as you can, and of course invest in returns that give you more than what you're borrowing. And that's the lifestyle. Right. You know, life is so short. You want to live now, or do you want to live when you're 65, when you're broke? That's not living. Right.
Robbie, I mean, you know, you've done well in the UK in terms of investing. Are you now looking to invest outside of the UK?
Well, you know what? I've never really sat down and thought about it, because I'm still sort of new to it. I mean, I will speak, and I will obviously bend your ear and
I'd love to talk
more information and all that. But I don't really know too much about this part of the world. And, but you know, I am open to new ideas, new suggestions, and look, in anything you can never say never.
Right. I mean, this is not the first time you've been in Indonesia and in Jakarta. You've been here a few times. What's your impression? Is it, you know, is something that more people in the UK should know about what's happening in this part of the world?
Yeah, well, listen, I think this country, I mean, I've come over primarily for football, and
right.
I mean, I'm just, you know, flabbergasted how passionate the people are. In terms of, I mean, I come over on my own, and I mean, I've not played for a number of years at the top level, you know, and the adulation I get from the people is just unreal.
Well, you are God, you know.
Well, I mean, to come over and without sounding egotistical and big-headed, I mean, it is unbelievable for me to still.
You find those fans are different to English fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in terms of in England, I mean, people see you all the time.
Yeah.
You come over here and, you know.
They never see you kind of thing, yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like more of a,
yeah.
more like a bit of a shock and awe thing, isn't it? You know, but look, I do love coming here. Obviously not just in Indonesia, but all over the Asian world. But I just find it extraordinary the way the people are.
Right. We've got to wrap up. Maybe I'll just go, you know, in terms of, you know, what do you think is the next leg of your career, of your life? I mean, you've done very well as a footballer. You've done very well as an individual. You know, you're giving back to communities now. What do you see on the horizon for yourself?
Well, obviously I've got a few things in the pipeline, and you know, one being, you know, obviously the investments with property, you know, and two, you know, football has played a massive part of my life. I've played it for years. Well, I mean, I've played it since I was 5-6 years old, and you know, it's the only thing I ever wanted to do. Obviously, you can't play forever, so coaching and managing certainly the next step that I'd like to go into.
Right. Any club?
Well, I can't really say I'm going to manage this club, can I? Because you know, you never know what's around the corner. But look, I mean, it could be anywhere. I mean, it could be in England, it could be in anywhere in Asia. But you know, I am, let's say, open to suggestions, and yeah, hopefully it'll be.
I don't think it's going to be Manchester United, though, right?
No, I didn't think.
I knew we'd get Man United in. No, but look, I think you know, whatever, you know, it's a bigger world.
Well, you know, Asia will welcome you with open arms, I'm sure.
As it always does. So you know, I'm grateful for that.
Okay, Marco.
Yes.
You know, I mean, what's the next?
I'd love to manage a football team.
Yeah. You could.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? But
why don't you just buy one?
Yeah.
Well, let's buy one together.
Yeah. There you go. You know.
Deal?
Well, a lot of.
Hang on to that. Maybe one day. You never know.
Yeah. always good to look forward, right? Something interesting, something
I've always wanted to run a
unusual.
football club. Why not?
And not Manchester United. Well, you can't buy Manchester United now. Or maybe you could.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
In my philosophy.
Everything's is for sale.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for your time,
Thank you,
Robbie and Marco. I think
much.
it's been a great having you both on the program, and wish you all the best. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.